All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Oh, hiding you there. There we go. Don't want to hide you. Such a big guy. Let me back up here. Hopefully they can still hear us. Anyways, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm BreakyCPK, of course. We're watching Honcast, of course. I'm joined by. Your name is Chad.
Yes, sir.
People in game may know you as something different. What is your name in game?
WhamPow.
WhamPow.
Yep.
And it's WHAM.
That's correct.
Good. Why is it WHAM?
Just thought I'd go with that, kind of a wham, I guess.
Was WhamPow was it WAM taken? Or you just
no?
Is that how you chose to spell it that way?
I did. It was an active
You're
decision.
Weird. I don't know. Man.
I can't fight that too much.
All right. Is that been your name for like all games, or is that something more new?
No, that's brand new actually.
Yeah?
My initial name was going to be Yambow.
Yambow?
And then Waza just kept thinking it was called WhamPow, so then I switched it over to that.
Gotcha. Waza, you let Waza help you.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
It was rather dangerous.
That is dangerous ground right there. Anyways, guys, with that said, obviously enough about us, though, but you are tuning in because, well, hopefully you're tuning in for this reason. We're going to be showcasing a new hero that just entered New Earth. The one and only, his name is Deadlift, the Necrofury, entering the world of New Earth. The reason why we have you on is because you happen to be the lead designer on this hero. You've put your heart and soul into this guy. Yep. First, we'll start with you a little bit more. You know, we obviously people by now they know the name Idager, they know the name Waza. Your name maybe not as much. You're newer here at Heroes of New Earth. This is your first hero, I believe.
This is the first guy. Yeah.
How does it feel?
Exciting, terrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just really awesome to have something in the game and something that's really showcased, and just watching people play it and enjoy it.
Yeah. It's well, I mean that's the thing too. It's like. That hasn't even really happened yet.
Right.
Like obviously today he's just coming out, so you haven't really got to feel the what it's like to have your hero played in game, have you? So
no,
you're looking forward to that and
yes.
Seeing all the OP and everyone calling it this hero's ridiculous, overpowered, and
yeah, that's already starting up a little bit.
What else is new?
Yeah.
What else is new, right? So let's talk about a little bit about Deadlift now, kind of the history. Well, first off, let's enough. We're pretty looking dudes and everything, but I think people want to maybe watch something else. So we're actually going to jump into a game now. This happens to be just a random, honestly, a random game I found that was already played earlier today. Just a random player playing Deadlift, basically. But what we're going to do, we're going to have this not only play in the background to give you something to watch while we're talking, but you know, maybe commenting, you know, how this player is playing Deadlift, basically. But we'll start with more like your design philosophy with Deadlift. So this being your first hero specifically. Now, I think where we should start is technically, you know, it's not. This was actually the inception, I guess, of an SB tier.
That's correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
Actually, Lock 16K had the initial design set up for this hero, and then kind of when I got brought on board and everything, it was kind of passed on to me.
Yeah.
And I started iteration on that. Very different in some respects than it was initially, but I think I maintained a lot of what Locke was trying to achieve with the design overall, and really making this guy this kind of pushing monster with the centerpiece of the rebound.
Okay, so you took it over, you know, fine-tuned and made sure that things were looking good, and so you had your own influence on the hero, safe to say, right?
Sure. One of my goals, like kind of taking it on, was to really kind of focus the hero in. There was a lot of kind of addendums to a lot of the abilities initially, so I try to kind of focus that in, so people, when they're using the Q, for example, they have primary targets in mind. You understand who they should be hitting with their abilities. Yeah. And kind of really kind of focus.
Deadlift sucks, clearly. He just got bloodlusted. So what were you thinking designing this now? All right, so now, by the way, it's worth noting here, now this is not the default Deadlift skin that we're watching, guys. This is actually, I believe, the EA skin, if I'm not mistaken, the Medvac Deadlift. So one of the two skins, as usual, comes out with the hero, so fantastic. I mean, I'll say this, like, the default skin especially, I'm a huge fan of the default skin. Yeah, I don't know, I mean, all of them I love, obviously, but I really like what they did this time around with the default model for I mean, what was your thoughts when you saw the
I mean,
model?
when they were initially concepting it, I was just really excited to see what they were kind of coming up with, and when paired with the lore, I think it really fits together rather well.
Yeah, the story that we got, the lore story, that was actually pretty fun hearing that and everything. So if you haven't checked out the Origins, guys, you need to check that out for this hero. It's pretty badass as well. Actually voiced by voiced by the same guy that voiced Archimon from World of Warcraft, as well as many other things. I don't know his name off the top of my head. Ben, what was the guy's name that voiced the Deadlift?
Let me check.
Oh, just ask some random guy. We're in the office here, so we got people. What's up? Okay, that's probably a good call.
Yeah, his voice acting was amazing.
Yeah.
Just hearing that just kind of gives me shivers, like listening to the origin story.
Yeah. And it's the same guy, obviously, that voiced it within the game as well, so...
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that part, but okay, so Deadlift specifically. Let's start breaking it down a little further here.
Sure.
What do we got?
David Lodge.
David Lodge. That's what it was. David Lodge. Yeah, that's... As far as voice acting goes, apparently that's a big name overall, and yeah, for those that are gamers, you've probably heard that voice before. Anyway, so point being, as I think we're about to see a big play right here. Oh, look at this. Oh my
nice.
god, he's going to turn it. Rhapsody makes the big plays as well. And will they kill him? They
Wow.
will.
Wow.
Oh, and he's back to being overpowered. No.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start.
Fast.
Yeah, let's start with each ability. So we got the Q. We got Death Grip,
Yep.
as it's called. Very interesting tool, ability. You know, in the sense it's an immobilize. Sure, it does magic damage. Not maybe for that sense, but the idea that you can click it again after to change direction and whatnot. So, what was the procedure with that? What was the idea behind Death Grip?
So Death Grip to me is kind of like the really fun toy aspect of this hero. It's pretty unique. It's kind of got an artillery feel to it, but with the changing directions. One of the things I kind of added in was making the immobilize stronger the longer you're channeling it
Yeah.
to kind of incentivize you snaking it around and making these really cool plays with it. And I think overall with that general mechanic, it's just really fun to play.
Yeah.
Just to use in general.
What was the... Because, so the theme of this hero, kind of taking a step back right here, is about to... Oh my gosh, he's managing to live barely, man, and stay alive here. He's going a very interesting build by it. He finally put a point into his Q, but he actually wasn't leveling that initially. I think he even went stats. I don't know what this guy's doing. Anyways, the theme of this hero, what was the theme design of this? You know, a pusher, a team fighter, a carry, a support? Like, what was your idea when designing this hero?
Like I said, when I looked at the initial concept of the design that was laid out, it screamed pusher to me.
Okay.
His ability to just knock down the lane and then just to res creeps is just it just yelled, we didn't want to push towers down.
Yeah.
So that was something that I wanted to maintain. I thought it was a definite strength of the hero design overall. Initially, the resing creeps passive was actually on the ulti as well.
Okay.
So that kind of got moved over into the E. But yeah, I had no doubts in my brain where I wanted to put him
Okay.
as far as
So being the pusher, that seems like, yeah, with the skills of the Onslaught especially, it's really makes him that kind of hero. So now, you know, because he's a pusher, as I said, he resurrects the minions and whatnot, but so that's where it was. Going back to Death Grip now, it's maybe not necessarily a scream pushing tool to you off the bat. I mean, why do you think that's important for a hero that it's designed around the idea of pushing to have a ganking tool in a sense?
Well, I think that it's really powerful. Like maybe if you're coming out of the mid lane, maybe you're coming out of the jungle, it helps to kind of set up the gank, take someone out, and then push down a tower.
Yeah.
It's also very, very good at actually clearing waves down because
It does do magic damage to them, yeah.
So it kind of helps start your E up a little bit
Yeah.
faster.
Okay. Okay, so there's some synergy there, definitely. All right, fair enough. So now talking about the W here, we got the Onslaught ability, which we saw him use it a little bit right there, so he used it a couple times. Onslaught, of course, it basically makes everything in the area, non-hero at least, attack a target that you specify.
Yep.
On top of that, it slows. On top of that... By the way, you know, I talked with you several times about this when we were going over the Spotlight video. This hero, there's a lot to it as far as mechanics go and specifics.
Yes.
Did that worry you ever, or was that always your intention to kind of be a little bit over the top there as far as mechanics go, and you wanted to really bring it all to this hero?
From a mechanical standpoint, I definitely think that there are some caveats to some of this stuff, and some of it was out of necessity to create some more balanced gameplay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice that it doesn't target heroes. An earlier iteration actually made your own tower target you. Just crazy
Okay.
stuff.
All right.
But some of this is just. It was just kind of necessary to make some of this work.
Yeah.
And I just really like how the W as a mechanic works. I think you can generate some really cool player stories. I mean, it can interact with Kongor, it can interact with
That's
Ubu,
awesome, yeah.
And it's just like, I want to keep that. How can I keep this types of interaction and really generate these really cool player stories for people?
So, Okay, yeah. It's what did it end up being, or is that for the organic non-hero? It's like non-mechanic. It's like there's a lot of specifications, but yeah, it's one of those when you actually play the hero, you'll get a feel for what it truly works with. But I think the examples that you pointed out, especially like Boo Boo, you know, when I was first playing this hero in SBT, that I happened to be playing a game against Boo Boo, against Wild Soul, and it took me a while to realize it. But I'm like, wait a second, am I actually controlling Boo Boo here? And it's like, holy crap, I am. That's awesome. I can make his own pet attack him. So Onslaught. Obviously, again, that goes back to also making it the very powerful pushing tool that really brings them together, I think it's safe to say.
I mean, you can chunk down towers pretty effectively.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, it makes him the strongest pusher in the game, doesn't it? I mean,
arguably, it's probably the strongest pusher.
Yeah. So, you're like, this is my first hero, it's got to be the best at something, right?
I mean, yeah, you got to be a little bit more than just proficient in something, you know?
There you go. The best pusher in the game right here. All right, so let's continue on. We got his third ability, which is called, I'm blanking now on the name of it.
The Dead Shall Rise.
The Dead Shall Rise. That fantastic name there. So, the Dead Shall Rise, it's got two parts to it. The passive, of course, where we kind of see the minions running around with us. Now, I also like what they did. They made as they usually do with the new heroes, I mean, the avatars, they make them look slightly different on the abilities and stuff. In this case here with the Medvac Deadlift, you know, they're electrocuted and as if they, like, she shocked them back to life almost, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyway, so resurrects minions around her, non-hero enemies. This is that organic, the non-organic, and all that stuff. But anyways.
This, but not these.
Neutrals and lane creeps, I think is the best way to put it.
Yes.
Doesn't work on Kongor.
No
Doesn't work on Kongor, unfortunately. That'd be fun. But this ability is interesting. Now, they cannot be controlled, though.
Right.
So, I want to start with that. What was the idea with... was that going to be too powerful, you think, if you were able to control them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that just is just... The amount of power you could do with having that many minions that are cycling out at all times, it's just too much. Having these kind of, like, you know, brought back to life, and they're kind of crazy and running around, kind of fit the style a little bit more.
Yeah.
But they're still very effective, and they're constantly coming in and out of, you know, expiring and death based on, like, which particular minion has the lowest health and what is dying around you, so instead of having to try to spend all this time microwaving, trying to make this hero easier, to play with the amount of minions you can actually get.
Yeah. Now, this is also a very interesting tool where I found pretty quickly, you know, being able to obviously use it against neutral creep, so in the jungle and all the... But now you can't cast their abilities. So say you get a Skeleton King, you can't net with it. So obviously that's where there's a little bit of the downside, and yeah, that probably would be too powerful to be fair. But however, you get their auras. So actually, the idea of killing wolf commanders and vagabond leaders and, you know, all the aura style neutral creeps, which there actually is a good amount, actually could make sense with this here. And I assume that was an intention, of course.
Absolutely.
With the jungle there.
And just trying to kind of keep another part of the ability where it's, you know, different heroes being able to just, you know, make their own kind of creeps, and this is actually something that's persistent coming out of the jungle, and it's something that you're familiar with. And
yeah.
Like, oh wow, he's you know, he's coming out with these, you know, different auras and being really strong with that. It's definitely a design decision.
Yeah. All right. By the way, guys, while we are doing this here, again, we got the lead designer on the hero after all, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them on in chat and possibly ask them here, so definitely take your time to do that if you would like. Back to this, though, so now the ultimates. Now, this is the ability that really got some attention, it's safe to say, on the hero.
It definitely did, and I mean, on paper, it just sounds broken.
It sounds ridiculous.
It really does.
Yeah.
And when I initially pitched the idea, I was just bracing myself, you know, talking to Waza, talking to Jeter, talking to Burrow, and I'm like, okay, listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, and it might be really crazy, but I think we should just try and see what happens. You know, we threw
Waz is a crazy guy already.
Yeah,
so.
and you know, how am I going to fault? You know, how is he going to fault me for that? So, you know, I tried to put in, you know, some really solid counterplay, being able to break him out of his channel, obviously. The core around him, taking out gravestones.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
That's the biggest thing, trying to, you know, remove this really powerful ult. I mean, it is very reactionary. You're already in a kind of maybe a particular bad position because somebody on your team has died.
Yeah.
So it's a very reactionary type of skill, and because of that, I wanted to make it really powerful. It's something that people wanted to use, wanted to actually skill up, and see the kind of power it can bring.
Yeah. It was really interesting when we released a teaser for this hero with the video that, again, it showed the idea that he resurrects people. But people weren't sure exactly what that meant. You know, there was a lot of speculation going around. Well, do they just come back for a certain time? Are their stats nerfed? Does he control that hero? I mean, it was actually some pretty fun ideas being thrown around. And it's kind of funny to think that no, it was the simplest form of no. They just, I mean, then they're back in the game. They got to keep playing in level 3, full life, full mana. But the counterplay that is really it's on paper. It's one of those things that's like, okay, this is OP, but in practice, as you pointed out, and obviously you designed it that way, that really it's not going to be as powerful. Still powerful. I mean, it is a good tool, obviously, and it's ultimate after all. But now, the idea with making it global, what about that? I think a lot of people are kind of reacting to that as well. What was the intention? Like, because you could have easily said, oh, you have to be like in 1,000 range. Like,
right.
So why global?
So some earlier iterations of this hero's ulti required him to be very, within 1,000 units or closer to the hero that he's trying to rest. And what I kind of found was, he's a strength melee.
Yeah.
People tend to build him tanky, and instead of resing the person, they would just run in and fight and die. So all this wasn't being utilized.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, I can back up the range a little bit more. I can back up the range a little bit more. But people just want to go in and fight and smash people's faces.
That's not fun to sit in the back. Yeah.
And I mean, this guy is primarily a pusher, and the rest of his skills are not exactly team fighting centric. I mean, his Q is single target, his W is single target, his E active does do some AoE, but it's not, doesn't do a very high damage, doesn't scale very well.
Okay.
And I said, being the fact being that team fight is kind of the downside, and you should be split pushing a lane or pushing a lane down. How can I still make his ulti effective when he's not there? When he probably shouldn't be there. So that's when the global kind of popped into my head, and
this sounds right.
I said, okay, let's see what happens.
Let's do it. Now, there are a couple questions being brought up, so I want to actually address these before I forget about them here.
Sure.
Well, one actually, it wasn't a direct question, but it's actually got me kind of thinking too. I wonder if you would actually know. The neutral creep. So going back to that real quickly. So say if you take over like a Minotaur or a Vagabond leader, for example, with his passive, the Deadlift Rise. Now, we mentioned you can't actually use abilities with them. However, will they use their abilities on their own? Like when you say if you're farming against a Vagabond leader, he'll do his nuke if you have like a certain amount of creeps nearby. Would that actually work?
That shouldn't work.
That shouldn't work. Okay.
Just the aura should stay. I've seen some of the other neutrals kind of spark off some of their abilities, but usually that's not really seen. It's just kind of like their auto attacks and maintaining the aura.
So that shouldn't be the case. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Let's see. There was another one up here. Let's see.
Your shadow stalks you.
Is it intended for enemy team to see Deadlift's creeps when they are attacking Kongor? Not sure what that's really getting at, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I assume it does. I don't know if he means like if they're doing Kongor and the enemy team could see that for some. I don't think that should be possible. Anyways, what about the idea of jungling with this hero? That's actually being asked a couple times here.
Sure.
What's the idea with jungling? Was that ever a thought that popped in your head with this hero, or?
I mean, with the E generating, undead units, I knew it was something that people are gonna, at least try. The function of the E was not necessarily for jungling, in my perspective. It was more like the active part was supposed to be more of a hero lane harass, and then obviously the passive was more built for pushing. Not to say that he's not viable in the jungle. I've seen people play it. C-Slap played it earlier very well. He's definitely viable. Has some very fast clearing.
have destroyed a Legion
Can come out
tower.
of the jungle, gank well. It's definitely an option for people.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of because I think honestly, Solstice is kind of an example of that too, where I don't think Waza designed Solstice. He just designed it to be broken. That's very obvious. But I don't think the design initially was to be a jungler. It was more of a ganking, more of even a carry potential hero, I believe. And I might be wrong on that, to be fair, but he's just strictly jungler now, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I don't know if. Now, you make a good point about the Deadlift Rise, and actually, I want to stress this because I thought that it worked against neutral creeps.
Right.
But so that's why I thought even more so, like, oh, he's going to be really good in the jungle. But with the nuke not working against neutral creeps and lane creeps, that actually does take away a little bit from his jungle potential, definitely. And obviously, as you point out, that's kind of intended.
Right.
You know, you don't want to make him a steroid farmer in the jungle. So.
Right, or if played in the lane, that's two pretty effective lane clearing tools, one of which doesn't cost any mana. So it was something that I did want to maintain.
That's true,
just for the sake of making the jungle more viable.
Yeah. Why? Okay, let's touch on that. Why life? Why 8% life? Why not 100 mana?
So the Q and W were already pretty mana intensive, and one of the other kind of shortcomings this hero is this mana pool is limited. And I kind of like the fact that he had this tool that, you know, he could harass in the lane and have these really interesting decisions as a player of, I'm harassing this lane opponent. I'm also taking damage from using the E itself.
Yeah.
You know, and trying to do that balance of, is this enough harass? Should I kind of stay back? Do I just keep spamming the E to get the, you know, my undead and kind of push the lane down? And having these decisions to be made as a player to just make those really interesting for them.
Okay.
And not have a, you know, I only do this or I only do that kind of mentality.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, you know, that's something that I think that also the idea of that not taking mana away, obviously, but having different concepts than the mana pool, because that is a very universal, you know, a lot of things throughout all the MOBAs, and Han's no different in that. That mana is obviously the main source of using abilities, whereas health is that other option, you know. So
thematically for me, also, I thought that it was also kind of a flavor thing where you know, passively units are dying and, you know, he can revive them, and then but if he's going to actually bring them out, like from himself and actually create them, it's going to cost a bit of himself to do.
Okay. Nerd you.
Yeah.
So more questions here. This was one that I wanted to bring up. Question for designer Puke Luke the Duke asks.
What a name.
Yeah, what a name indeed. I understand that Deadlift, not Deadlift. Anyways, Deadlift is a pusher, a great one it seems, but how does he scale throughout the course of a normal game? That's a good question. So yeah, I mean, a lot of pushing heroes may taper off later game. Do you think he's similar, or do you expect him to scale pretty well?
I would definitely say that he's way more effective in the early game. He was designed to be that way.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't do a lot of damage late game, I would say that his ulti is probably the biggest thing late game because it has 2-second channel time.
Yeah.
People come back with
full
health,
life, full
mana, which is like can be absolutely game changing.
Yeah.
And as far as pushing is concerned, depending on what kind of, you know, item build you have, or like kind of how much gold you've gotten, and depending on the wave, you know, the clearing ability of the enemy team, usually they can kind of deal with it at mid to late game pretty effectively. So if you're not really pushing the towers down very quickly in an early game, it's a lot easier to be countered later.
Yeah.
And that was kind of his intention, to be this early game, like really big powerhouse, and just kind of like steadily fall off the late game.
But like you said, he definitely still has tools. In a sense, he's also like can be an anti-carry against specific heroes. You know, Wild Soul that example, because you know stacking up that booba and you're just like for 5 seconds he's going to be destroying you instead. So
yes, I think it's also a good point to make out is that, you know, a lot of people thought that the W was like, you know, could be potentially OP as well. And, you know, enemy units like that they only do 30% of their damage.
That's a good point to bring up, yes.
So I just want to point that out where, you know, well, the W just seems so broken. And it's like, well, they're not doing all of their damage either. So
I remember you brought that up to me as well when we were going over the spotlight. We didn't actually specify that in the spotlight, but yes, I assume it says on the tooltip as well about, let's double check that actually. Yeah, enemies affected deal 30% damage. So yeah, that is very worth noting that. So say Boo Boo or say, you know, Ophelia's minions with her, or just the enemy minions in the lane, for example.
Yeah.
They'll do 30% damage of their 100% total. So yeah, but still powerful tool.
Still very, very powerful.
Yeah. More questions. Ultimate. It's always fun to talk about Staff of the Masters. Was there any staff ideas and?
There was an initial staff idea, and that was to allow the actual ability was charge based initially, and the kind of staff was kind of to bring out allowing you to get a second charge, so then you could actually resurrect 2 people.
Oh boy,
which was pretty powerful.
That's powerful staff, yeah.
Pretty powerful. Another part of it was potentially to raise ancients as well.
Oh my gosh.
Monkey.
So that was pretty strong.
That should happen.
I have some ideas of my own of what I like to do with the staff. I don't want to go into it.
I'll tell you this: if you do the ancient one for Deadlift and then do Parasite staff, it's Kongor. and we're good.
Oh, okay.
Make it happen.
Make it
all right. All right, settle, guys. That's my suggestion that he will take into consideration and follow through with next patch. So there you go. It's not actually happening, by the way. Okay, so yeah, staff effects are always fun and interesting to talk about, but there's other ones that you don't want to tell us. So
yeah,
we'll see
want
if
to kind of keep that one close to the
we'll
vest.
see if eventually we find out.
If it all works out,
all right,
it's gonna be pretty awesome.
I think I know the answer to this one. The minions that the Dead Shall Rise brings up from Deadlift, like things like Battlecry from Warbeast, it would affect him, right?
Yeah.
Like so they're affected just as if they're his own. So yeah, that makes sense there. Does he get the gold from his creeps who kill other creeps? Yes.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the other nice things about him is
The Legion have destroyed a
forgiving for
Hellborn
getting
tower.
gold and for players, and they kind of be able to pick that up a little bit easier and be able to farm pretty effectively with it.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to ask you a question? I'm looking. Puzzle box getting 125 attack speed equals 5 seconds target will be died, and skill 2 of the new hero goes through shrunken head. Don't know what is he saying about puzzle box synergy with the Onslaught?
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, the W is physical, the cast is.
Yeah, so it does go through
it does
shrunken
go
head.
through
Yeah,
shrunken
that's
head.
definitely a good point.
Slow does not though. That is magical.
Oh, okay. So you can tell things to attack shrunken head targets, but it won't actually slow them. Okay. So yeah, it still does some decent damage, but you won't actually be able to help chase them down in that sense. Okay. Makes sense.
And I think
there.
that's kind of key around the W is that if you have a lot of move speed or you have anything like that, if you can get out pretty. Depending on how effective the slow is, if you cast up while there's a lot of creep around and you really get that full 80% slow, a lot of times they can try to kind of kite them out and not do as much damage.
Yeah.
And especially later in the game where the physical damage tends to kind of trail off a little bit.
Now I've seen a couple again. So Hero literally just came out today, not even 2-3 hours ago, but the role that this hero fits, again, we know the intention is more the pusher. Now, role is one thing. What about lane? What lane do you see this hero in from the beginning? We talked a little bit about jungle, but suicide's actually being brought up quite a bit as even a possible support. Is there the idea that you could see that being useful with him? Or
I mean, I've definitely seen both of those played. Suicide more effectively than support. Depending on how you do your skill set from more of a support standpoint, if you're not putting points into your E, it's a lot easier to deal with, but as soon as you start putting points in the E, you're going to push the lane up. Regardless of how many points you put into it, it's going to push the lane up.
Okay.
And that sometimes also affects, obviously, when you're suicide. But I actually saw earlier today some really nice suicide lanes. So I was kind of surprised. I thought it'd be more of a mid laner, personally, but not a bad suicide.
That must be pretty crazy, a crazy experience. Like spending a good chunk of your life over these last several months, at least, if not more, and on this hero here, and finally get to see all these other people playing and doing things that you really didn't have in mind. Maybe because obviously you're only one person here.
Right.
Even with SBT, we have a fair amount of SBTers, but there's only so much that they can do. But then when you send it to the masses, then you really get an idea.
Yeah, and I think
what it's about.
And I think his general style kind of allows him to be a little bit more versatile than maybe some heroes.
Yeah.
And being able to kind of go into different roles. Just looking at a lot of SBT, it was predominantly played in mid. So I saw that maybe that would be kind
The
of carried over
Hellborn
once
have
again
destroyed a Legion tower.
for a larger audience.
Yeah.
But that's not been the case completely. So.
Interesting there.
Which I like. I'm glad people are experimenting.
Obviously, yeah.
With it, so.
No, that must be again a pretty cool feeling there. So, Sapphirus had a question. I believe it was about the courier, or the possibility. So, say if a courier flies, the enemy courier flies over you, and you have some minions that are. Would the minions actually attack the courier if they flies over you?
It shouldn't. It's kind of they grab the closest creep. I don't think they actually have targeting for the courier.
Okay, so they shouldn't.
Yeah.
It's one of those again. It's like, it
I'm
shouldn't work
sure
like
that's
that.
Not the case.
So if it does, then we may need to fix them.
Yeah. Normally though, they kind of prioritize heroes, especially the E-activated ones, and they kind of look for the closest guy. So they have a target. They usually just stay on that.
Yeah.
Go wander a bit, come back.
Dead men.
Now, this is more of a designer question in general here, it looks like. Being a designer, so a couple of questions to this. So, how would you explain like the phase of building here? So like, where do you start? What in this case, obviously, you know, an SB tier had the idea, the inception of it, and then you kind of took it from there. But what happens when you design a hero, you create a hero? Is that you just look for ideas from others? Is it something that you come up with yourself? I mean, how does that process kind of start for you?
You mean from scratch?
Yeah, almost pretty much from scratch, yeah. So.
Well, I mean, it was a lot different for me designing off of something that was already pre-existing.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you kind of have these general mechanics and these kind of combos that you kind of want to maintain, and you're kind of trying to, like, get the gist of what they were trying to accomplish. And I talked with a lot during the iteration phase, making sure that, you know, I wasn't just destroying his vision and all that. And I try to maintain that as best I can.
Yeah.
But going from scratch, my own personal design kind of workflow is kind of centered around a mechanic, something, you know, something new, hopefully something new for Han.
Yeah.
And I kind of center around a particular mechanic that I really want to see, and then kind of augment around that.
Like, do you go into it being like, I want to design a ganking hero, and then was that like where you would start, or was it more of like a certain skill or ability?
It's definitely more, for me, it's centered around more of a skill or an ability, and then it kind of evolves into, well, where would this, you know, best be placed, you know, as a carry, as this, or as that.
Gotcha.
But that's not to say that some of the ideas I had, I just kind of said, I want to build this type of hero, and I'm going to make all the skills kind of like in that direction.
Yeah. Cool.
But generally it's centered around some kind of cool mechanic that I really want to bring out.
Yeah. You got another one that you're working on, or?
Yeah, I got a couple guys just kind of
in the loop?
Yep.
You want to spoil anything? You want to talk about everything you're working on? And
no, I want to kind of make that a surprise.
They won't. We're not talking to anyone here.
No, yeah.
It's just me and you.
Just that.
Yeah. And me to the mic.
And there's 200 some, 300 some odd people aren't
almost
paying
300 here. No, that's a fake number.
Oh, that you just put that there?
I put that there because just to look impressive. Yeah.
I got you.
No. All right.
No, I mean, I have some really cool guys in the works.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for
Techies
it.
finally coming on.
I don't know about that.
No. Darn.
I don't know about that.
All right. Have you heard of Fox Accounts Hero?
Pardon me?
Fox Accounts Hero, Brenton over there.
No, I haven't.
That is great hero ideas.
He hasn't pitched anything to me.
It's got a cinema hero. It's based on movie films.
Okay, so
Classic
do you watch a movie
films.
while you're playing?
Basically, that's the concept. Really dumb idea.
Right after Breaky Sports Ball.
I kind of turned him down right away, shut him down. But
So I'm glad you were the filter.
He's
before it
trying
got
to
me,
persevere.
so I didn't have to
So
go.
he may
That
eventually
sounds
come
cool,
to you.
I guess. I can see it maybe.
Yeah. All right. Again, we're joined by WhamPow here, by the way, for those that are tuning in a little bit later on. This is the lead designer of Deadlift, and we've just been talking about the hero itself, and answering questions. So again, guys, if you have some more questions here, not going to be too much longer, maybe about 10 minutes at the most here, but this guy especially at least has to continue working on all those heroes that he is talking about. So how has it been working with the design team as a whole? How's it work with Waza?
Waza, I mean, he puts me into tears in a good way.
Okay.
Pretty much every day.
Glad you clarified that. Okay.
I mean, he gives me a hard time, like he gives everyone a hard time, but he's so funny. Like,
Yeah.
I just come into work and I'm just crying, laughing at the stuff that he comes up with because only Waza would say it.
Yeah.
But it's great working with these guys. Obviously, they've been working with Han a lot longer than I have. They have great insight into the game and its mechanics, and what's gonna flourish, what things to stay away from.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's
it's been very,
about
very
damn
helpful in the development of the heroes and things like that.
Definitely
A great resource.
Cool. Are you involved in like balance at all? Like with this hero, were you involved with the numbers of the hero, as far as trying to tweak those, or is that more like somebody else's area?
To a degree. I mean, I rely a lot on Waza to kind of look through stuff and really tell me, no, this is broken.
Take
Okay.
this dirty dog.
Yeah.
And I mean, I made adjustments and iterations and that kind of thing, but I kind of deferred to his judgment for the most part as far as looking at any of the really core numbers and things like that.
Yeah. Are there more staff of the Masters coming out in the future? Is that something you can answer? Like, more, not to be specific necessarily, but
I mean, I think we're gonna see some staff of the Masters in the future.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that could happen.
Well, we already know about the Parasite one, so it's where do we go from there is the question. There's still a lot of heroes.
There's a lot of heroes.
I need that stuff.
Being one of them now.
There be blood in these ones.
Late arrival here. What's up, Akiyaka? Some of these names, man. Are his minions visible to the enemy heroes, and if so, what does that say for Deadlift's ganking, juking potential? Yes, they are visible. They're not invis, so...
Right.
I guess, yeah, so how would that hurt his ganking and juking potential? I don't think too much. With this Q, at least, but...
So, like, with the invis... This guy kind of has, like, a unique interaction with, like, invis stuff. So, one of the things I still wanted to maintain some of that, element of surprise. Considering you don't have any control over what things are actually, reviving, you can't turn it off.
Yeah.
So coming in the lane and just seeing these guys start popping up is like, oh, guess
Wait a
Deadlift's
second.
around.
Yeah.
So like, kind of how I tried to approach this is maintain as much of the element of surprise as I could without like making it just completely broken.
Okay.
So initially when he goes invis, his minions share
Choo
his
choo,
invisibility.
motherfucker.
But as soon as they start attacking, they break invis. But not for Deadlift. So he'll still maintain invisibility, and as they're attacking stuff, they will become visible. But if they come off of from attacking something, maybe he moves away. They'll go back to invis.
Okay. So I think that the idea is too is kind of almost be like Zephyr Cyclones, almost. Of course, those don't randomly go off attacking people, I guess. So
Right.
not necessarily 100%, but maybe a similar idea.
Yeah.
What do you think is his item? I'm actually looking at this guy's item build, looking back at the game that we're watching here, and it's pretty much spot on what I would expect. Plated Greaves, Abyssal Skull, Soulsborg, a puzzle box to assist for even more. But is that kind of the intention you had in mind too? Of that set like that?
I think he's got a pretty standard kind of build for him. It's basically what I kind of saw him as is more aura heavy. All the things that kind of augment his his minions since his
That was
his
one big ass monkey.
I mean, I'm pretty happy with his item build so far.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty effective. Plated Greaves for sure, Abyssal Skull for sure. He does have a little bit lower magic armor, so picking up the investments, especially against some higher damage. Magic
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
First time I've seen Puzzle Box picked up yet today.
Yeah, really?
So,
I assume you've been watching several games, and
Yep.
it seems Puzzle Box is an interesting item because it is powerful on a lot of heroes, but you have to micromanage, and who wants to do that, right?
I mean, it can be kind of tiresome.
I mean, I love doing it because I'm fantastic at it. My APM's like through the roof.
I bet. I mean,
But it's
I don't
understandable
expect
that
anything
other
less out
people.
of you, Breaky, so.
Yeah. I really wish you made the units controllable because I'd be splitting these guys and sending them everywhere. And
Well, then I couldn't play him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So.
Okay. Fine. Casual. All right. So yeah. No. And then Codex is of course necessary on him, like any hero. So I'm in the really troll mood. I'm sorry. Okay, so what do we got here? This is interesting. If Parasite jumps into a creep, then you use your spell to attack another minion. Is Parasite forced to attack that minion? So if you use Onslaught when Parasite's saying a Minotaur, would he be forced and he can't get out?
That is absolutely true.
Counter to Parasite. There you go, guys.
It's actually really interesting to watch him, like, jump into a creep and then you're like, all right, well, now you're gonna attack this instead. For,
Yeah.
at least 5 seconds.
That's hilarious.
Initially, that wasn't how it was working. So
But you're like, wait a
he
second.
would get the buff
This
for
is
the
fine.
attack speed, and then just go
Oh,
see you
boy.
later, and not care about the W taunt at all. So I'm like, yeah, no, can't
Okay.
have that. I'm gonna buff you, and then you just walk away smiling.
Good. That was a good idea, I think. Yeah. Parasite could use some nerfs still.
Double tap.
So, I like the idea of having a little bit of counter to him with this hero as well. So.
And again, I think it's cool having these really more niche interactions with the W.
Yeah.
Legion barracks
Generating
has
some
been destroyed.
gameplay that you haven't
A
seen.
Legion barrack
Yeah.
has been destroyed.
You know what, Madden Madden? You read my mind. We're gonna be doing a giveaway here. We're gonna give away, which skin should we give away first? Let's give away this one first, the Medvac, since we happen to be
so
watching
good.
it. So keywords Deadlift, guys. Type it in if you want to be entered. Have a chance to win the Medvac Deadlift right here, right now. So yeah, with any hero, there's gonna be counter picks. There's gonna be heroes that are good against him, of course. Do you have any off the top of your head, or you're not gonna say that because you want your hero to succeed all across the board?
I need at least a full day of
Yeah, right.
doing some work.
This
on
is how you
people.
hard counter this hero.
I mean, it's no secret. I mean, there's been already some posts on Reddit about, I mean, Behe, being a really big counter to this type of hero. Anybody with some really strong AoE clear, Pyromancer coming to mind, can shut down his pushing ability for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, we see a behemoth in this game here.
Yeah.
So it seems like on paper that's probably a pretty good idea. I mean, you look at the army, that's ridiculous. Just mowing around with. That looks more than 6 creeps. Am I mistaken?
That should only be 6. I think I'm counting 6.
I think I got a little bit more than 6. Let's not worry about it. That's.
I mean, the number down there says 6.
The number said, okay,
1,
we're
2,
good
3,
then.
4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Day 1, ladies and gentlemen. Day 1. Things happen.
I think another good pick against him, especially if you're really worried about the ulti. Vindicator, obviously, will help break that channel and take him out.
Okay.
Especially in the late game when you can, res a carry back to full health in, around 2 seconds. If you have a fit silhouette, you probably want to stop that from coming back if you've already taken her out. So, not a bad pick up against her.
Fair enough.
Deadlift.
Okay, so first off, we got the one winner here, Man for 2. Congratulations, Man for 2. I'm gonna go ahead and give you a message here, and if you want to, actually, well, let's just do it this. Man for 2, if you can give me your in-game name. Man for 2, what is your in-game name? And we'll go ahead and give you the medvac avatar. And people are right, I may have rushed into that one, so let's do one more, a medvac deadlift here. So we're gonna give you guys a second chance. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time here, and then I'll type in the keyword eventually. Let's do WhamPow is cool. All one word. The keyword is WhamPow is cool. Alright, there you go. You guys should have plenty of time now. So this is for medvac. Okay, there's your in-game name. Tell us 2. Alright, congratulations, Man for 2. Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's just... I don't need to worry about that. Alright, let's see the game finishing here. This is one of the 2 skins. This is not the default once again. The skin we're watching is the medvac skin. So, how much? When it comes to being a designer too, I mean, obviously, you even hinted at, you like the idea of certain things being tied in with like the theme of the hero, with like the life being lost as a result of using your E ability. Were you involved in this, or the story, the background of the hero itself, and how involved were you, or?
I mean, Jeremy Brown does a really good job of just making some great lore. I kind of come in with a general idea, like, this is kind of what I was thinking. I don't know if that, resonates with you. And we kind of, like, spitball that, some ideas of where we could do with the lore, and then he comes up with something that's, awesome that I maybe didn't even think about, probably didn't think about.
Fair enough.
And kind of go from there. I mean, usually I have some influence on it, but I kind of, leave that to better minds.
All right, yeah, Jeremy Brown, a good guy over there. And definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to that. So, congratulations, Straw, right there. Straw taking home the other one that we are giving away here. So, Medivac, I guess is what the name is for this skin right here. So, congratulations to you, sir. All right, here now we got.
Initiating shop browsing
tree. I thought that was talking to me. He's not. Okay, so now we're gonna give away. Let's give away one of these guys, the Grand Druid.
Grand Druid.
This is a fun skin too. Alright, so let's give away the Grand Druid here. Alright, so we're going to do one more giveaway here, guys. You guys get one more chance for this guy now. The Grand Druid. What should this keyword be? What do you think of a keyword? I want to do all the work here.
Let's go with the Dead Shall Rise.
The Dead Shall Rise. The Dead Shall Rise. All one word. Alright, guys. Keyword is going to be the Dead Shall Rise. How does Alk Bones affect his creeps? That's a good point, actually. I assume like any creeps.
Yeah.
No, nothing different there, really. So, yeah, nothing different there.